But without further ado, here are CSS Container Queries. I made some drawings. Spent too much time on these drawings. Okay, so we have this this like Google, or like my Google that I just made, and we have the Google. This would be like Google search or something, and then we have some search results, and then we have like these nice style cards, and this you can think of it like a UI component, and it has an image or something, and then some text, and then this is like a flex container. And then and then it's like in flex direction row that is default, and then that's why you get one to the left and one to the right. Like simplified example. And now what happens is that you may want to show this in a handheld device or something, and then you use in responsive design. And then when you show it in this smaller viewport, you want it to collapse like this. So it's like in a column instead of rows, you have now columns. One common way to achieve that is to use media queries. In this case, we're saying that when the max width of you say when the width is smaller than 80 characters, then use the column layout. And then we achieve, I'd say whenever you have a small screen, then we override the card style with this flex direction, and then that's how you get like that they appear like this instead of like this, right? Yeah, so that makes sense. But there's a problem with that, which is that media queries break component encapsulation. Because now all of a sudden you have the card component that is sort of depending on the whole viewport of the page. And that it may not be a problem, but can be a problem. And we're going to see when it is a problem. Because instead of being like a self-containing component that only cares about itself, it also needs to care about something that may be very far in the DOM, that is like the root viewport. So it's a problem, because UI components are meant to be reusable, but if we use media queries, we have this problem here. For now, we have the component like we had before, but now we have like this area here that is like a smaller area with a much smaller width. Now we're putting the component here, and now we have a problem because it's not collapsing. Oh no, problem. I don't know what to put. I put the doggy. You say doggy? Or you say douche? I don't know. Doge. And the problem is that when we're gonna render these components, we say basically asking, is there space left for me, almighty browser? And that media query tells you, oh yeah, there's a ton of space left. Yeah, there's a ton of space left. Yes, go ahead. But the problem is that here there's no space. So then instead of getting the behavior that we want, that we would like to collapse because there's no space, because we're actually checking the viewport of the whole screen, we're not updating ourselves, because for the component, from the component point of view, is like, yeah, there's tons of space in the page, but it's not space in this small portion of the page. So that's why, so that the person here is sad, because this looks like it's working as expected, but the layout still looks like shit. All that shite. So what we need to do is that we need to use container queries. It took me at least 10 minutes. This awesome drawing is a caticorn that's flying through space and time in colors. So what we want to do is say, okay, instead of taking care of, instead of using the viewport to configure that adapting in layout, we want to use the container, right? Because we don't care. This component here doesn't matter, because like the whole component container is matches the viewport. But in this case, the component is much small. The container is much smaller, right? In this case, we want, when we change or adapt the layout of this component in this container, we only care about this width here, and not this whole width. And this is what container queries are about. Because now, instead of using media queries to calculate layout changes or change styles based on viewport, we can use container queries to change styles or layout based on the container. And that's it. So we have a container query. Instead of using media, say, toof, toof. Now we use this container. And then use the same styles that we used before. And now, because this container corresponds to the container of the element, the component, then it works. There's another part that I haven't shown here, is that containers also need to declare themselves. I think that the reason, this is still under development, but I think the reason is that this is kind of expensive, so you want to limit it in scope. So you need to basically this div here, and probably in this case you would need it, or if you're using container queries, you need these two divs should declare themselves as containers. And for that, there's another CSS rule that I have forgotten, but it's if you Google CSS Container Queries, I'm gonna change to this, share this tab, go here, and they here say that the parent is to use this contain layout inline size. There's a bunch of properties here that you need to define, but this is another one. And this one that takes care of the width. Yeah, if you're interested in learning more, just go to the web. There's a bunch of articles. I hope that you have understood at least the problem and why this exists. And then you have victory. And I didn't have space for, so when you start the Y was cut in this drawing. Cool. That was it.